Welcome to another stage analysis video. It's Sunday the 22nd of January 2023. I'm going to go through the normal weekend content today. We're going to start with a little bit of a special focus as there's been some developments in the crypto space which we haven't seen for a while, so I haven't done anything on the crypto coins since back in it was the day before the FTX collapse actually. So I'm going to start off with a bit of that, then getting into the market indexes, industry groups, market breadth data, and then the watch list stocks at the end of the video. So starting off here with Bitcoin, we drop down, you can see on the weekly chart here, this is your standard stage analysis weekly chart with the 30-week moving average, 10-week moving average, and the Mansfield relative strength at the bottom here. We flip this to the SATA score, which is the stage analysis technical attributes. You can see we've got a little bit of a development here in terms of the change in attributes, moving up to a SATA score of 8 now. So it's the strongest that it's been since all the way back in, what we got there, it's around November, literally the week before the week after the top, basically, in Bitcoin. So we've got a little bit of a change of behavior going on. And actually, if we go down to the daily chart here, you can see we've actually potentially got an early stage 2 breakout attempt. I did have a discussion with someone on Twitter yesterday about this, as they were saying, how can it go from stage 4 immediately into stage 2? It can, and it does happen with anomalies. We do get moves that immediately move from stage 4 behavior and jump straight up into stage 2, because they were arguing that there was no base. But if you actually look back on the chart here, we've actually got 7 months of basing action. It's just that the FTX disaster, obviously a couple of days here, actually wiped out the initial basing part, but it's actually come back into that range. So we do actually have a 7-month broader structure that it was starting to develop and then started to shift down in here. So if you actually ignore what happened on the FTX days here and look at the price action since then, it's actually been continuing to base and then obviously surged out over the last few weeks since the start of the year. So we've got obviously all of this constructive basing action here and then further basing and then a strong breakout attempt here. And the fact that it's now above the 200-day moving average, which is also now rising. So even though there's overhead resistance as such, it's still deep in a decline. It's actually, in terms of the overall, go back to the weekly chart, you can see it's obviously been in a deep downtrend, but there is actually a base structure that's been forming since all the way back at this point here, where it bottomed back in, what week was that? Month, back in June. So it's just a very awkward base structure because of what happened with the FTX move, and which destroyed obviously numerous crypto coins. Practically all of them were affected basically by it. They had a big shakeout. So in terms of Bitcoin itself here, that was dropped off 25% in a single week, and as I said, it's been continuing to consolidate and base since then, and is now attempting to break back up and out again. And also the 30-week moving average, as you can see here, has just ticked up. So for the first week as well, even with this, so it's kind of acted a bit like it's had a stock split as such. When you get that data, when you see that, when it's not got an adjusted chart, you get a massive gap down and then the data starts again. So we got that in a lot of the crypto coins. And so we go back to the daily chart here again. So as I said, if you can imagine all of this price action actually starting further up here in this range, we've got this broader, bigger base structure. It's just got this obviously extreme shakeout, what we call a terminal shakeout here, and it started to move back out again with this sign of strength rally back up and out of the range. So the reason why this can be potentially an early stage 2 breakout attempt is that we're above the 200-day moving average. So this red line here is the 200-day moving average. So when you're above the 200-day moving average and you form above the first pivot, it tends to be the stage 2 breakout point as a sort of a rough guide. We're also above obviously multiple near-term highs here. We've actually gone above 2 of the highs in the last 5 months, just testing the second one at the moment. So it's actually attempting to break two highs even with this 25% shakeout move here. So it is showing obviously extreme strength in the near term, and it's already 19-20% above the 200-day moving average. So this is what we consider a very early stage 2 breakout. Obviously it's an extreme anomaly in terms of how it's formed with that, obviously the FTX crisis there. So very different in other crypto coins as well. They've got some that have obviously formed stage 1 bases, and others that obviously done very similar and just fallen off into made stage 4 continuation and haven't yet all fully recovered. Bitcoin's actually showing one of the strongest relative strengths. If we look at some of the others, Ethereum is also testing the stage 2 breakout level. So you can see its shakeout move wasn't quite so bad in terms of it managed to hold the original structure that it was forming, didn't make a major continuation breakdown, did dip below briefly, but it's basically formed up and is now testing the top of the range here. So you can see this near-term swing high in here. You can see the SATA score on this has topped up to a 7. So again, best score it's had for quite a while now. Haven't seen that since back in that little March top there before it rolled over, when it was still stage 3, stage 4 kind of area. Either early stage 4 and still in stage 3 at that point. So you've got the full stage 4 breakdown. It's actually at this week here. So basically Ethereum also testing stage 2 breakout level, but not as convincing yet. If we go down to the daily chart on this one, it is above its 200-day moving average as well, which as you can see is also rising there. So, and it has broken above the first swing high, but hasn't yet got through this near-term swing high here, which formed just before the FTX crash there. So at the moment, put this one tentatively still in late stage 1 there, so testing the stage 2 level as such. So as it's still got a little, that near-term level hasn't yet been overcome. If we go back to this, let's have a quick look at a couple of others just before I move on. So you can see here, Binance coin still developing. We've got stage 1 structure in that. You've got stage 1 in XRP, Ripple here developing. You've got Dogecoin, also potentially stage 1. Cardano, just a small change of behavior at the moment. That would still be considered a 4B minus. So you've got Sol. So looking at that one, it's coming up just underneath the declining 30-week moving average. It would still be in stage 4B minus, but again, had that huge, it's coming back into this huge shakeout bar here, but hasn't yet overcome that. So this one would still be in a 4B minus, but you can see the technical attributes has improved again in this one. So then Matic, also one of my favorite ones in the crypto space, did have a failed stage 2 breakout attempt just after, with the FTX move there happened just the week after it made a stage 2 breakout attempt. So now it's pulling back round again. So it's in potential position to make a new stage 2 breakout attempt. So one of the stronger crypto coins. Then DOT, also 4B minus, potentially could push into stage 1 there. You've got a stage 1 on SHIB here. So, and QNT was another one that was stronger before the crisis, before the FTX move. It did move up into stage 2, but is now attempting to regain that level. So as you can see, there's a number of crypto coins still developing some stage 1 and some even early stage 2 type behavior. So definitely an interesting space at the moment, with Bitcoin attempting to make that early breakout attempt. Again, whether it's stage 2 or whether it's in stage 1, doesn't really matter so much. It's just obviously the near-term price action is obviously showing some strength. So definitely an area to start to take a look at again, as obviously there's a clear change of behavior since the start of the year. So right, let's move on to the regular content now. So back into this is the S&P 500. So let's have a look at the major US indexes. You can see percentage of S&P 500 stocks above their 20-day moving average at the bottom here. We had the pullback this week, shook out a little bit in the market, but has come back in 64.8% now. So it's back in a more reasonable position after getting a little bit extended in the near term. So testing around the 200-day moving average, consolidated over the course of the last week around it, with a move above and below. We've still got this obviously near-term area of resistance in the overall big overhead. So we need to clear that convincingly to move into stage 2. but this has been has been lagging due to the mega caps in this. We've been looking at the equal weighted index in this as well. So if you look at the equal weighted index, you can see it actually hasn't moved below its 200-day moving average since that move early in the year. So I think this was that follow through day, and then testing up towards the top of the pivot earlier in the week and pulled back into its 21-day moving average on Thursday and rebounded strongly on Friday. So it didn't come back below its 50-day moving average, which both of these are rising, 21-day and the 50-day moving average there, and the 200-day moving average, it's still holding above over the last few weeks now. You can see percentage of stocks above their 200-day moving average in the S&P 500 is at 62.2%. So it's in a strong position. Above 60% is considered obviously potentially stage 2 territory, but as you can see, we haven't yet broken out. So as we know from the individual stocks we've been looking at in the watch list, there are a lot of groups and stocks breaking out into early stage 2. So the index is a bit of a lagging indicator. So it is definitely positive to see that it's above the 60% level there. And obviously the equal weighted chart here is showing that there is more relative strength compared to what we see in the headline chart, the S&P 500 main chart here. So we flick on to the weeklies of these quickly, just to have a look. You can see we're still within this broad downtrend channel. I've seen this highlighted many times on the people's various FinTwit feeds with the touches of the trend line, etc. It's testing it again. You can see there's a good demand tail on this week's candle as it pulled back into that rising 30-week moving average and rising 10-week moving average. So a good move up through the near-term pivot could potentially push this up and out into early stage 2. So if we look at the equal weight again, you can see we're right up against the same trend line in that, but we're much higher within the range. It's been a much tighter pullback there. Obviously the pullback within the range only came back around half of the actual range, and there's good constructive action. So looking for a strong move through. If it does, that would be a breakout into stage 2. So definitely something of significance if that happens. Not necessarily that it will, but if it does, it would be a significant event. So NASDAQ, also good recovery on Friday, plus 2.66% off of the 50-day moving average. You can see the 21 days chopping around above and below that 50-day moving average. Relative strength versus the S&P 500 has improved since the start of the year. So you can see it was in a big decline for the last 4 months before the start of 2023, and we're now starting to see a little bit of a change of behaviour, but it's still got a ways to go in order to catch up with the S&P 500 there. It's still well below this 200-day moving average, which has still got another 4% to clear there, and the near-term pivots. But if it does start to get back above that 200-day moving average, starts to form a near-term pivot, then there is a possibility that we could actually get out of stage 1 in this fairly quickly as well if the rest of the market does start to push through. So definitely something to keep an eye on. NDX also doing similar. Got this downtrend channels similar to what we see in the S&P 500, but obviously it's been much more extreme. It's been testing the lows of the range for a while. We've got this broad structure that it's been in, so for a long time now, since back in May. So with a up thrust and a shakeout at the bottom, so higher lows and starting to round off and come back round. You can see that start to change in the relative strength there, but still well below this declining zero line here. So again, looking for a strong move up through this 1200, a little bit further than that in the NASDAQ 100. But again, if we look at the equal weighted chart on this, you can see relative strength. So flick back to normal and then the equal weighted. You can see there's actually a much stronger structure in the equal weighted, and it's actually within reach of a potential stage 2 breakout attempt. We could, with a single week, strong week, could actually make a 5% move in a week. Could obviously push that out into potential stage 2 there. So very different to what we're seeing in the NASDAQ 100, obviously normal chart. So the equal weight again showing much better relative strength. We're back above the zero line compared to the S&P 500. So obviously giving you a very different picture to what the headline indexes are showing. So at the moment, the equal weighted indexes are giving a much better idea of what's going on in the market there. Quickly look through into the Russell 2000 as well. I've talked about this before. We've got this obviously major resistance zone that's been support resistance, obviously many times throughout the course of the last year. So again, recently, so it continues to be our major zone of resistance, and that makes it stage 2 level to watch for. Obviously within the near term, you've got 4 or 5 pivots to go through as well. So a strong move up through this 190 level, and a breakthrough there would potentially put the Russell 2000 into stage 2 as well. As you can see, we're above 200-day moving average. So we've got a confluence of the moving averages at the moment, with the 21-day and the 50-day just crossing over the 200-day as well. So look for a strong move up and out through there, and we'd be in stage 2 in the Russell 2000 as well. And it continues to outperform in the near term versus the S&P 500. QQQJ, which is the Nasdaq second 100 stocks. This is an ETF that you can trade for those more mid-cap type Nasdaq stocks. Again, been forming a big base structure now for a good while, back since May, June time. And again, we've got near-term levels to watch. Around that 26 level there would push this up into potential stage 2. It's above the 200-day moving average there. The 50 days not yet crossed, but it's within touching distance and could potentially cross in the next few days there if the price action continues to obviously consolidate above it there. Right. The VIX turned down a little bit on Friday. We did have a negative week, so it did jump back up again after a little bit of spring type action here back into the range. So you need to see this start to dip back below, get below that 19 level and start pushing lower again. Would obviously give a bit of a headwind to the stocks then. Right, moving on. This is the futures chart. Just wanted to run through these quickly before we move on to the industry groups. So the dollar, this continues to be one of the most key charts overall. So since the buying climax week here, where it made a new 52-week high and reverse lower there. So that's been our key point. It started to have this big significant bar week there, dropped back down again, started developing. It was developing in stage 3, but has since obviously dropped down, broke multiple levels through here, started to move into stage 4. So it's been in stage 4 for 4 to 6 weeks now in the dollar index there, continuing to make lower lows at the moment. So Treasuries, you can see starting to develop potential stage 1. I mean, got a close above that 30-week moving average there. Got a little bit of a structure starting to develop here. Potentially, if it does, it could start to form a higher structure even if it starts to push through there, and that would then spread out the stage 1 structure a bit. So it doesn't always form in a straight horizontal line. You don't just get textbook ones like in the book. A lot of the times with your structures, you can get like obviously moves where it can zigzag its way up, and it could obviously come back down again, spring and come back out again. It could be all over the place. Structures are never perfect. So at the moment, obviously, you can see the SATA score showing a little bit of a change of behavior. We've got SATA 5 at the moment, so it's in the middle of the range in terms of its technical attributes. So starting to show a little bit of improvement, but not yet convincing as stage 1. So gold continuing its push higher in early stage 2. So some number of gold stocks come up on the watch list scans on Thursday again. So continuing to look constructive there with some rebounds after pulling back during the week. So pushing out in early stage 2. Silver also doing similar, but a little bit weaker over the last month or so. It did lead gold out and moved into early stage 2 much sooner, but it's now been consolidating in the secondary base here. So looking for a continuation attempt in silver. Oil, let's push that back. You can see it's actually attempting to rebound back into the range here. Continues to be in stage 4 at the moment. A little bit of a change of behavior on the SATA score there, up to a 4, but still in stage 4 at the moment. Copper, talked about this one last week and it followed through. So we had the stage 2 breakout last week and then followed through this week after initially pulling back earlier in the week. So closed stronger again, back into old resistance here. So could start to form a base structure or start to roll back over a little bit again, start to get the 10-week and the 30-week moving average to catch that up a bit. But at the moment, pushing out a couple of weeks in stage 2 now. Then back to the normal S&P 500 here. You got on a SATA 7. Nasdaq 100 is on a SATA 4. You've got SATA 6 on the Dow, also just sitting underneath that stage 2 level. Got the Russell on a SATA 7 sitting underneath the stage 2 level, as I talked about before. So just to push through there. And then we'll look at the European S&P Stocks 50 index, the Euro Stocks 50 index continuing up in stage 2. So it was your stage 2 breakout, it was your backup area through here. So secondary entry zone as it moved up and out. So continuing in early stage 2 at the moment.